UFC Kansas City just recently wrapped up. I'm going to recap the entire card. I'm going to start with the first fight of the night and then work my way up to the main event. So make sure you guys hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe it up. Let's jump right into it. Ladies went after it to start the night. Jocelyn Edwards handled business and knocked Chelsea Chandler out in the first round. I really think this is a sign of growth for Jocelyn Edwards. You know, she was a little rocky. Her early UFC career start was kind of thought of as, up and coming can. But she's only 29 years of age, 6-4 in the UFC, and has won 2 straight fights. Like, you got to put some respect on her name. And the way that she beat up Chelsea Chandler is super impressive to get her out of there in the first round. Like, I got to say, the knockout is mad impressive for, a Jocelyn Edwards, showcasing some power too. I mean, she did better than Norma Dumont did against Chelsea Chandler. And to be fair, Norma Dumont, a highly rated girl in the women's weight classes, he's in an interesting spot because, I mean, you even look at, 1 win, 2 win, 3 wins, 4, 5-2 over her last 7. To be honest, 6-1 over the last 7, because I felt like she could have even got that Nora Cornell decision. And at 29, like, I guess we got to really keep an eye on the up and coming Jocelyn Edwards, because she seems to be coming into some type of a prime too. I think that Chelsea Chandler laid the gloves down after the fight. I don't know if she like officially retired or not, but it seemed like she was going to. Edwards looked solid. I thought she would win. She was a pretty damn confident pick for me, and you guys saw why. And she exceeded expectations as well. So shout out Jocelyn Edwards winning early in the night and showing some punching power and some hand speed. Okay, Jocelyn Edwards, I see you developing some knockout ability in the women's divisions. Respect. Next up was Timmy Cuamba versus Roberto Romero. Timmy Cuamba, he looked pretty good, man. I know the stoppage was a little bit early. I complained about it during the live stream, but like when you actually look at what was taking place, he was taking the fight over. And I don't think Roberto Romero was probably going to come back. I gave Cuamba the first round. The second round, obviously, Cuamba did some good damage and then drops Romero with the big knee, and then follows up almost with a little ground and pound, but the ref like jumps right in. And then Romero bursted right up to his feet. So my thought process was, I do think Romero had the ability to continue, which is why I'll say it was an early stoppage, but I don't think things would have changed. Cuamba was looking more accurate, a bit faster, was landing the cleaner shots, and he keeps his UFC dreams and career alive. I mean, he started off 0-2 in the UFC, now comes out and pulls through against Romero, who gave Onama a good fight on short notice. So you got to say, Timmy Cuamba deserves a roster spot at the least. Now looking at it, Roberto Romero, 8-5 as a pro. So he has like that true mid-tier prospect record. It's interesting. He's 0-2 in the UFC. I wonder if they keep him on the roster, because like 8-5 record is not nice to look at, especially at the UFC level. Cuamba 9-3. Win finally in the octagon. I mean, he looks solid. The hands are fast. The right hand's quick. He's got a nice 1-2. He was pretty precise in this fight. It would have stopped Romero's attack. He did get hit a bit, but was firing cleaner shots back. I feel like Roberto Romero, I hate to be this, bearer of bad news, but I'm getting up and coming journeyman vibes. Like, I can see him with a record of like 12-9-2 or something like that at some point. I don't know how long he's going to last on the UFC roster. He's still mad young, so potential to improve is certainly there. But Timmy Cuamba putting you out, I mean, granted, he could have survived if the ref allowed it to. But Timmy Cuamba fucking him up in the way that he did, not necessarily a great look. And I'm not sure that Romero is going to be sticking around on this UFC roster, man, because this was a testy L. But I feel like because of his debut against David Onama, like, you have to put some respect on him, that he has potential. But then again, like, Vucenic had a great debut with Garam and lost. I mean, granted, Garam's turned out to kind of be a can, but you get where I'm going with it. And then he got ran over by Chris Duncan. So it's like, I don't know. A lot of these guys are having these awesome debuts on short notice, and then they're just sucking in the UFC. Even Timmy Cuamba, split decision in his UFC debut against Oki. And then he got dropped a handful of times against Lucas Almeida, but does get his first win here. Shout out Cuamba. He did pull through against a gritty Romero. Next fight, the ladies went after it. Jacqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. I was excited about this one. The odds were wide as hell, but I will say I felt like the Mystic Mac, because I called the second round submission on the weigh-in show. Takedowns were at will. Like, it was too easy. Viana had no answer for the takedown. She got controlled the whole first round. She got taken down quick in round number 2, and then she got choked out. Jacqueline Amorim is legit. Her jiu-jitsu is really nice, and I feel like she has some real good potential. Like, at 29 years old, she's in her prime. Still would consider her more of a prospect, but 4-fight winning streak. She's then calling for somebody in the rankings. And I'm like, you can't really turn it down. I mean, if you're gonna give her somebody that's unranked, you could do like a Loma Lukbume fight, which I don't think is a horrible idea for her. But I want to look at the women's top 15. Let's see. Let's see. What direction can we go down with her? At number 15, you have Tisha. I believe Tisha's booked, if I'm not mistaken. Tisha has something coming up, right? Tisha's fighting Luana Pinheiro. Could see her actually fight the winner of Pinheiro and Tisha. I don't know how far they're going to jump her. Luana Pinheiro 14. You know what, though? No, I think I know the matchup. They go Angela Hill, Jacqueline Amorim. Give her the goated gatekeeper of women's MMA, Angela Hill, and let's see if she's actually ready for these top 15 girls. That could be a really difficult task, man, because Angela Hill does a great job at sending back girls with great potential. 4 straight wins for Amorim, but to be fair, Polyana Viana, a bit of a non-threat. Like, let's just keep it a buck, man. Polyana Viana is not good. He's kind of a fun striker, but kind of not. I mean, she had lost 2 straight fights leading into this one. She had lost 3 of her last 4. There's not a lot of pop with the Polyana Viana name in 2025. But, you know, she built that hype beating up that mugger, and Joe Rogan just constantly bragged about it during pay-per-views every time she was fighting. But when it actually comes down to when it counts inside of the UFC, she has sold at a high level. So shout out Jacqueline and Marim showing nasty jiu-jitsu as expected by many, myself included, you included, probably everybody included. Sub round number 2 was a pretty badass call, but dominance on the ground as expected. Good grappling. Let's keep running. Malcolm Wellmaker, Cameron Saaiman. I don't even know what to say besides wow. Wow. Right hook KO flatlines Cameron Saaiman in the first 2 minutes of round number 1. Wellmaker looked really fast. He dug a nice hook to the body of Cameron Saaiman. Saaiman was trying to blitz with pressure, and like he looked okay in a couple of moments. He was ahead in the strike totals at the time of the knockout, but Wellmaker just set up the perfect right hand over the top, and Cameron Saaiman went out cold. It was such a badass KO. Cameron Saaiman is probably getting cut from the UFC. This is 3 losses in a row, and it's also back-to-back KO losses. But like, it's just Wellmaker's that good, man. He had the reach advantage, he had the slickness advantage, he cut angles well, and he found the chin. Dude was working as a welder leading up to this fight, full-time job type shit, and he's kicking ass and taking names in the UFC. I feel like Malcolm Wellmaker has awesome potential. This is, you know, a guy who's in the most stacked of stacked divisions. So I don't really know where you take him. He's somewhere in the top 75 as far as the, you know, bantamweights go in the world. But there's so many guys on the roster. It's like, who do you even match him up with? I don't know the direction the UFC goes with him. He is a bit of an older prospect at 30, but still a lot of time to develop. He's got, you know, probably a good 6 years left in his fighting career. It's not like he's taking a lot of damage. Trying to think of potential options for him. Like, do you do Malcolm Wellmaker versus Carlos Vera? Vera's coming off the upset win over Musasa, who was also a prospect. That doesn't seem like a crazy result. That actually makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's a possibility the UFC decides to do it. We're just going to be pulling at straws to try and match make for a Malcolm Wellmaker in a division that's just jam packed. Like, I have no idea. You could go so many different ways with it, but like, I don't think they're going to give him a jump. Do they give him Peyton Talbot? I doubt they do the prospect fight. They're not going to run him up to Gene Matsumoto. You get where I'm coming from? I'm unsure of what the UFC decides for Wellmaker next. It could be a debuting guy that we don't even know about for him, but I definitely feel like he is a promising puncher. His boxing is actually really good. His power is legit at bantamweight, and I feel like he has a pretty high ceiling. And I'm excited as hell for more. For Cameron Saaiman, I think he got to get some rounds in on the regional scene. I know that some guys will get cut from the UFC and then it'll be like the end of the world to him. But I don't think it is. I really just don't think Saaiman's ready for this level. He's 24. He's taken some L's now, 3 straight. I feel like let him go, let him build back, and let's see if he can turn it around. Like, what if in 4 years he gets back to the UFC? Like, he's 9-3 right now. What if he's like, 15-4 when he comes back to the UFC and he gets some reps in outside of the octagon? I feel like that's a best case scenario, man. Some of these guys get to the UFC way too young, and then it absolutely stunts their growth because they're just mismatched. Like, Simon's losses are not bad. Wellmaker's a badass prospect. Peyton Talbot is still a good prospect, regardless of getting killed by Barcelos. And then C-Rod is up at featherweight. And, like, yeah, he lost to Melky Costa and Arosa, but he gets wins. So I feel like you have to do Cameron Saaiman right, which is actually releasing him. If the UFC keeps him around and gives him another one and he gets chinned, or what if he fights somebody, wins a split decision, they keep him around, he loses another 2? Like, you get where I'm saying? Like, Cameron Saaiman could go down the path of just mid-ass journeyman, or he could leave the UFC, get better, come back, and maybe he's actually going to have some ability at 28. He was 6 years younger than Malcolm Wellmaker. Yeah, sure, he had more UFC experience, but it didn't matter. The man's strength was the difference maker. Malcolm Wellmaker, ever impressive, and a sick KO. Damon Blackshear in the next one handled business, out kickboxing Alatengheili for 3 rounds. His hands look fast. His kicks look quick. Knees up the center look good. He tries to start the fight with the jump knee. He boxed up Alatengheili. He ate some punches to the face. Alateng rips those power overhands, but Damon Blackshear was way too sharp and tactical for Alatengheili. I said this, though. I said, I see a world where, I don't know when, maybe not for 2 to 3 years, but I just feel like there's a chance that we see Damon Blackshear eventually face off with Malcolm Wellmaker. Somehow, some way, though, both of them are 30 years old, whereas like Wellmaker is prospect status, and Blackshear, with the MMA experience he has, he's damn veteran status. Beating Alatengheili is a good win, though. Like, I don't want that to be discredited. I know Alatengheili is not necessarily a guy with like great success in his fights, but Alatengheili is a guy that's gritty, tough, and hard to finish off. For Damon Blackshear, I feel like it's a pretty clear as day matchup. I feel like you could go Blackshear versus Victor Henry. Like, why even overthink it? Blackshear, Victor Henry. I'm down as fuck for that fight. Victor Henry and him, I mean, in not really similar positions. Henry's an older guy. Blackshear's in his prime. Blackshear's won 3 in a row. I know he's going to call for the top 15. I get it. I get wanting to fight in the top 15. But if we're realistic about the UFC bantamweight division's top 15, it is super hard to crack into. Like, number 15 is Montel Jackson. Montel knocked out Damon Blackshear in 20 seconds. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, outside of the rankings at bantamweight, you have elite talent like Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. You have skillful guys, even like the OGs, in like Chris Gutierrez, who also won on this card. Then you have like quality names running throughout, like Daniel Marcos, who's fighting Montel Jackson, even OG like Hani Barcelos. To be honest, the UFC could go Hayani Barcelos versus Damon Blackshear. I think it's really between Barcelos and Henry. I know that Barcelos lost to Henry at one point, but like as of right now, Henry, just winning 1 out of his past 2, the fight before he lost to Jourdain. I don't know. I feel like there's a possibility Barcelos could get it. Could also be Charles Jourdain when we're thinking about matchups. Go in matchmaker mode in a stacked bantamweight division for the unranked is one of the most difficult things for me to do, because like there are so many options, but there's also so many intangibles. Like, what if Cody Garbrandt wants to fight? Is Damon Blackshear versus Cody Garbrandt really that far out of the realm of possibility? I don't think it is. That's a maybe. Blackshear's striking look good. He kickboxed up Alatengheili. I know he was a huge favorite coming in, but I still felt like it was an impressive performance, man. So respect to Damon Blackshear for showcasing not just the grappling like he normally does, but the striking, and it looked clean. Chris Gutierrez, John Castañeda, split decision. This was the fight that I flipped. I picked Gutierrez, then I flipped to Castañeda after weigh-ins. I was having brain farts and a half about this fight, and I see why. It was a damn split decision. Now, I did personally score the fight for Chris Gutierrez. I thought that he definitely won the first round. He dropped Castañeda in round 1. And I also thought he did enough to get round number 2, landed a bit more significant shots. And then, yes, Castañeda definitely took round 3 with the grappling and the control from top and a bit of ground and pound. But Chris Gutierrez in the first round did enough to win. Gutierrez, another bantamweight fight. Well, actually, it was a featherweight fight, but another bantamweight. Gutierrez was tactical. His kickboxing looked pretty good. He was attacking the legs well at John Castañeda, landed the big shot in round one, which scored him a knockdown. He looked pretty crisp and clean and definitely has some more oomph in him. Yes, he doesn't finish the fight strong and he ends up, put on his back late in the fight and Castaneda stealing the third from him. And that's why it ends up being a split decision, right? Because he sold late. But I really thought it was clear cut first and second. Second was close, but I still thought it was Chris's. So not going to sing any robbery, sounds here. I said robbery sounds. I was going to say praise, but I'm not going to freak out and say there was a robbery here because simply put, there wasn't. Chris Gutierrez was tactical, precise, and did enough so to win on the judges' scorecards. He was a guy that had so much hype at one point. Like, you guys remember it. Remember when he knocked out Frankie Edgar? It's like, yo, Chris Gutierrez is a problem. Then he loses to Pedro Munoz. He beats Alatengheili, loses to Song, which, to be honest, not a bad loss. His losses are not awful. And then he's won 2 straight. He beat Kwang Lee, who's actually pretty tough and fighting next weekend. And then he beat John Castaneda, the training partner of Kwang Lee. Solid wins for him. And he's in an interesting position, right? Good striker. It's not crazy to think that even he could be a candidate for a fight against like a Cody Garbrandt. That's not a wild take, I don't think. I don't think that's wild at all. Or it could even be a Raul Rosas fight for Chris Gutierrez if they're looking to give Rosas a jump. He's definitely far out of the rankings now. At one point, he was top 15, but now I'm looking at that top 15. I'm like, man, I don't love his chances with anybody. I don't think he's to that caliber, but I still think that Chris Gutierrez is difficult for a lot of guys to deal with. Even the Ricky Simones of the world, it wouldn't be crazy to me if Ricky Simone fought against Chris Gutierrez next, to be honest with you. That's kind of a cool matchup of OGs with opposing styles. I feel like Ricky Simone might get Gutierrez with his wrestling abilities, but I like that matchup a lot. I like Ricky Simone Gutierrez. I'm just looking at the, top 50 of the damn UFC featherweights. And Ricky Simone kind of standing out for me as the next matchup for Chris. I hope that they book that. I'm going to say Ricky Simone, Chris Gutierrez next. For John Castaneda, a load of options. I mean, you could potentially do a fight against Javid Basharat, who's dropped 2 straight and has a no contest in the fight before. I don't think that's a, wild fight to consider for him. Alatengheili, to be honest with you, is another one that I think kind of makes sense for John Castaneda. He got worked, man. He got worked. He got outworked, I should say, by Gutierrez in the first 2. Not proficient enough, and he got a late start. He looked great in round 3, but rounds 1 and 2, especially round 1, he just looked like he was a step behind, man. So shout out Chris Gutierrez getting a hard-fought win and a competitive one. Evan Elder, Gage Young. This was the Elder versus the Young. Like, they were former training partners, and you could see that. Evan Elder fought tactical. He landed some nasty body kicks, landed some decent punches, definitely had thud on his shots. Gage Young was trying to fire back, but he was a step behind. He got 30-27. He lost every round by a bit, but he still put a decent account for himself stepping into this fight on real short notice. Evan Elder's an interesting player in the UFC lightweight division because, he hasn't really beaten anybody good, but he himself is actually a good prospect. Win over Gage Young, Darius Flowers, and Genaro Valdez. 3 guys that are essentially, not considered close to the rankings, right? I would say if I had to give them a ranking status, I would say bottom of the rankings probably for them. They're bottom ranked guys. And now I'm trying to find my way into the damn matchups to make. I mean, I'd be overthinking some of the matchups with these guys that are unranked. I don't even know why I'm going matchmaker mode. But Elder looked good. Elder looked fast. Elder looked precise. His striking looked pretty clean. I like the way he was ripping shots and putting punches together. I don't know, man. You realistically, if you really want to push Evan Elder, it's a scary matchup. But how crazy would it be if they even did Evan Elder versus Chris Duncan? Chris Duncan's coming off the win over Vucenic, who had a really good debut, which ultimately didn't go his way, but he looked solid. And then, Duncan destroys him. Evan Elder and Duncan seems like a fight that's guaranteed fireworks. But Gage Young also kept on the roster regardless of the loss here. Shout out Evan Elder. He did a bit more, a little more powerful and everything. The body kicks were on point. There was heavy shots being thrown. He looked clean on the feet. He was able to stop the grappling attacks of Gage Young. He was able to stop the striking attacks of any significant margin. Sure, Young hit him with some shots, but Evan Elder, clear W, outworks Gage Young over 3 rounds, outlands him. Look at the striking difference, the power difference. Every shot when Elder's landing made more of a substantial impact as opposed to Gage Young on the other side. Let's keep running. Our featured prelim, Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. This was actually a sick fight. Matt Schnell, it makes me thankful that he didn't retire because we got to witness this banger. Round one, Jimmy Flick gets Matt Schnell down, starts grappling him up, and it's like, oh shit, Matt Schnell might get grapple fucked. Round two, Schnell's on his back again. But the thing is with Matt Schnell, he is relentless from bottom position. I mean, even in round one, he's like attempting to throw up triangles, even though there's nothing there. And he's like trying to do things from the bottom. So you have to respect the activity from bottom position for him. But then we get to round number two. There's some scrambles of positions. There's some tight guillotine attempts. There's Jimmy Flick, reversing the back position, and Schnell then end up reversing, getting on top of him. Like both guys had their moments come round two, but definitely Matt Schnell stole the round, doing more damage, cracking Jimmy Flick with big shots. And I think he busted him up in round two with that late ground and pound, stealing the round after starting bad. And then round three, Matt Schnell has had more oomph, man. Flick was still trying to wrestle. Schnell's defense was solid, was taken down a little, but then Schnell was able to find ways on top. Both guys were kind of in a guillotine battle, like baiting one another into guillotines to try to escape the position and find dominance. Schnell was trying to hunt for a guillotine a couple of times. To be honest, at the end of round two, he almost had that guillotine. Bell rings at the end of the round. Confusion though, because it was actually the 10-second timer, but then Dan Miragliano put his hands on both guys. Now, I still think that, Matt Schnell would probably not have locked up a successful submission on Jimmy Flick with less than 10 seconds left, but I do think Dan Miragliano threw shit off because he definitely loosened the grip up a bit, but, scored him that second round with the tight gilly attempt. And then a back and forth in round number three, Schnell landing the bigger shots, Schnell winning the positional battle, Schnell nearly getting the rear naked choke in the final moments of the fight, very close to locking it in, but Flick was relentless with his submission defense. And Matt Schnell earned himself a win, 29-28, clear cut, second and third round, keeps his UFC career alive. It seemed like Matt Schnell was, looking like it was really over at the beginning. He retired from MMA for a minute and then he came right back. He's 35 years of age, so he's in one of those positions at flyweight that, like, it's a give or take. He could end up being sent out, or he could decide to, call it wraps. And I don't think anybody would think that's crazy. But I feel as though he's not going to retire off of a win. I can't see that for Matt Schnell. And I think with Matt Schnell winning this fight here, even though it wasn't, the most impressive performance, it was still a really entertaining fight. His confidence has got to be jumping. He's like, yo, I just won a UFC fight. My UFC career is alive again. I still have something left. It's just, where does Matt Schnell go in this flyweight division? I don't even know, man. I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm thinking of flyweight. I mean, Jimmy Flick's got to be towards the back end. I'm looking at Ranking MMA, which is all unofficial rankings. Flick was at number 28, but that's not even official. But you know what I'm saying? Am I about to do it? Yeah. I think you got to go maybe like Ode Osborne versus Matt Schnell. I kind of feel like that's the perfect fight. It's either Ode Osborne or it's a, guy who beat Ode Osborne and Ronaldo Rodriguez. I feel like those are the two options. You just have to put Matt Schnell in fights that most likely excite the fuck out of fans. I think him and Ronaldo Rodriguez would be a crazy banger. And I don't think it's a bad option if they're looking to give Ronaldo a chance to get back on track after his upset loss to Kevin Borjas. Or if they're wanting to give, Ode Osborne a matchup that he actually has a decent shot in, you give him Matt Schnell. I like both of those fights, and I think it's like guaranteed fireworks. But Jimmy Flick, you definitely got to keep him on the roster. Like, yeah, he hasn't done, great in the UFC or even good in the UFC. But at the end of the day, still delivers entertaining fights time in and time out. You got to give him a lower level guy. I don't know who it would be. Like, I don't even want to give him a Luis Garula. Do you give him a Mitch Raposo after this one? Raposo's 0-2 in the UFC. You could end up getting handled by Mitch. Do you give him Jose Ochoa, who's a good prospect? Carlos Hernandez? Dude, you know what? Respect to the UFC matchmakers of like the unranked bantamweights and featherweights, bantamweights and flyweights, because it's just a cesspool of fighters. Hernandez did beat Tumendumbro last time. They probably don't give him Flick, but I don't know, man. Jimmy Flick versus Ray Saruya in a battle of grapplers. I don't think anybody's bitching at that fight if the UFC does decide to do it. Like, I still think you give Jimmy Flick another fight, and he could pull off an upset against somebody because Jimmy Flick definitely has good jiu-jitsu, man. Ground skills are solid. Striking's not great, but he did land okay punches early in the fight against Matt Schnell on the feet. But shout out Matt Schnell, not giving up on his UFC career, getting a win, and I don't know, turning back the clock somehow. Next fight, it brings us to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you hit the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Ikram Aliskerov knocks out André Muniz in the first round. Caught him with a clean hook that just gave André Muniz a late reaction against the cage. Then Aliskerov finishes him with a ferocious ground and pound attack. Muniz was like so willing to stand very close to the cage. Like he was essentially backing himself up against the cage for most of the fight. Did shoot one takedown, but easily stuffed by Aliskerov, who's a high-level wrestler. Aliskerov wanted to keep it on the feet, and for good reason. He drops Muniz in the first round and finishes him off with ground and pound inside of the first 5 minutes. It was actually a good win for Ikram Aliskerov, like the solid performance that he needed to, I don't know, build back some confidence, I would say, after the rough loss to Rob Whittaker. But it definitely tells me that, like, he's not far from the higher caliber. Like Ikram Aliskerov is pretty damn good. Like, are you thinking that Ikram Aliskerov doesn't have a chance against RoboCop? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's definitely in the fight with a lot of those guys. Is it crazy to think that he would put up a solid performance and maybe even have a chance to beat even guys like, Bruno Ferreira, who have shown flaws in their grappling? It's just, does the UFC want to do like Bruno Ferreira like that? Do you do another Dagestan versus Brazil fight? Bruno Ferreira's definitely got the puncher's chance with Ikram Aliskerov, and I feel like he'd make it really entertaining. But I will say there's a relatively high probability that Aliskerov is just too well rounded. Beating Muniz puts him in an interesting spot. Bo Nickel, Rainier de Ritter winner. I just don't think the UFC wants to have Ikram Aliskerov anywhere near their pride and joy in Bo Nickel. I feel like they want to avoid that shit like the plague. But it's like Aliskerov is still close to top 15. After the fight, he called for a top 15 fight. I don't think he gets Roman Kopylov. Michel Pereira coming off the loss on the card. I was going to say, like, he could. It's arguably a clear win for Ikram against Michel. And he's not going to fight Abus. I know they were working out together leading up to this fight, so I doubt that. But if that wasn't the case, that actually could be a matchup that would make sense. But I still think he's going to be left outside of the top 15 unless like the UFC decides to give him a Rainier de Ritter versus Bo Nickel winner maybe. But that just seems weird. It's got a weird ring to it. I don't know, man. I think it could potentially be the likes of RoboCop if they're looking to match him up with somebody a little ahead of him as far as stature in the game, or if they're looking to put him behind Bruno Ferreira. Now, I know that Bruno Ferreira did have a win over RoboCop, but it was a while back. Shit changes. Like, it was 2023. It is what it is. I do like Bruno Ferreira versus Andre Petroski. Petroski versus Ikram Aliskerov. Listen, guys, it's almost 3 a.m. I feel as though there's definitely a puncher's chance for Bruno, but I'd assume that Ikram would look to drag that fight to the ground and make it a bit of a grapple fest where I think he could gas out and finish Bruno Ferreira. But I like that matchup from Muniz. Dude, I won't even lie to you guys. I feel like André Muniz could consider retiring, and if it's not retirement, then it's GM3. It's retirement or GM3, nothing else. That's my thought process with Muniz. Let's keep running. Next fight on the main card, Randy Brown and Nicolas Dalby went after it in what was an absolute badass fight. Round number 1, Randy Brown destroys the nose of Nicolas Dalby, literally repaints it on the other side of his damn face. And it's like, yo, Randy Brown's going to stop him in the first round. Even hurt him with the teep kick to the body. And then Dalby lands an overhand that drops Randy Brown, and he finishes the round having success. And it's like, holy shit, man. Now we got a 50-50. Dalby never gives up on himself. You got to respect him. Come round number 2, Brown's looking elusive. He's looking slick. He rocks Dalby with a right hand, I believe. And then the fight starts getting testy. Stings him bad against the cage. Somehow Dalby's still on his feet. And Dalby is one of those guys that's like a never retreat type of style. He is going to swing for the fences until it's over. And Dalby is throwing bombs at Randy Brown, and they're just sitting in the pocket and trading shots. Brown lands the perfect overhand and just drops Dalby on his face. Extremely similar to Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Eerily similar to it. Brown becomes the first fighter to officially finish Nicolas Dalby in his UFC career, though. Did have a no contest that he was stopped in a while ago against roided up Jesse Ronson back in the day. I remember that fight too. That was a big upset. Granted, the guy tested positive for steroids, became a no contest, but still, Randy Brown got a nice win here. Randy Brown's hands look good, recovery looks solid, skill set look good overall. He's really quick. He's a fast twitch fighter. Bro, fight of the night honors too. When does Randy Brown bore you? There's always fun ass Randy Brown fights. Now he called again, he wants a ranking. So tough to do though. What? Number 15 in the world is Michael Venom Page. I don't think he gets a Michael Venom Page. What are they going to give him? Who? Vicente Luque? Isn't Luque booked? Luque's booked to fight Kevin Holland on June 7th. So that's out of the realm of possibility. But even the loss to Brian Battle, man, you know what? This is the truth, the real truth. Carlos Leal, Randy Brown. That's the fight you have to do. Leal's coming off of a badass knockout. Randy Brown coming off of a badass knockout. Both of them before then had losses. For Leal, it was the controversial one with Fakhretdinov, and then it was the testy one for Brown against Brian Battle. I feel like Carlos Leal and Randy Brown is absolutely the motherfucking fight to make because he's not getting a top 15 foe next. Now, for Nicolas Dalby at 40, to be honest, he can ride off into the sunset and be happy with his career, but he won't. And I think that it's kind of a cool fight if they consider doing Neil Magny versus Nicolas Dalby in a battle of OGs. Obviously, Magny reached, a higher level as far as his rankings went inside of the UFC, but both similar guys that are never going to get towards the top 5, top 10, but held on to roster spots for years on end. And I'm kind of curious to see what would happen between Neil Magny and Nicolas Dalby. So I'm down AF with that one. I hope that the UFC decides to book those two because I feel like that'd be a cool matchup to witness. Dalby's still absolutely tough as fuck, absolutely relentless, but I don't care how good your chin is, man. You can't just continually eat bombs right on the dome and expect to stand up. So respect to Brown getting the KO. Next up, Michel Pereira, Abus Magomedov. Abus Magomedov, underdog winner on this card and an underdog that I picked to win. I picked him by a decision too. Worked out perfectly as far as the pick, but both of these guys look pretty flat. It wasn't really like an impressive performance outside of the first round for Abus. Abus in round one was looking really sharp. He had Michel Pereira on really wobbly ass legs and nearly got a first round stoppage. Round number two, more of a slower pace, but Abus still tactical from the outside and landed the cleaner shots. And then round three, both guys look extremely tired. I felt like I was watching a heavyweight fight come round number three. But Abus Magomedov landed bigger punches and even had Michel Pereira wobbled a bit in that third round. So Abus Magomedov definitely looked, solid enough, but both these guys just look like they have shit gas tanks. And I don't know, it just kind of became a sloppy spar in round 2 and 3. First round, Abus Magomedov looked really good, but outside of the first round, I think both of them look pretty mid. And I just don't think either one of them really looks like true top 15 fighters. For Michel Pereira, there's an expectation of explosive power early in the fights. There was no explosiveness from Michel Pereira throughout the entire fight. Zero whatsoever. It was not even a fast start. There was really no moments of wow, where normally you at least get a couple of those with Michel Pereira. He was flat the entire time that the fight went down. And I think that he looked gun shy. He looked uncomfortable. I think he struggled dealing with a guy with the long reach like Abus Magomedov. Had the range advantage on him, a good sniper from the outside and a bit of a grappling threat. Essentially shut down the game of Michel Pereira. Now, where does Abus Magomedov go, though? Because he's in the top 15 now, right? Michel Pereira at 14. I'll assume there's at least a consideration to put Abus at 15, but he could find himself outside of the rankings. Things could adjust and shift. What direction does the UFC go down with him? I don't think it's a crazy idea, regardless of rankings, to give Jack Hermanson Abus Magomedov on the comeback. That's a pretty good fight. And if it's not Jack Hermanson, it could be the winner of Kelvin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer. I think those are two beautiful options and likely next fights for the side of Abus Magomedov, who looks good, but still has some flaws in his arsenal. I'll say this. I think that the doubts in the grappling skills of Abus Magomedov, not there. The doubts in the striking early, not there. But the doubts in the gas tank, absolutely as strong as they've ever been. And like, I don't see him beating a Roman Kopylov. I don't see him, honestly, I don't see him beating a Marvin Vettori. And people say, oh, bro, Vittori's not that good. Nah, I feel like Vettori beats. I think Brendan Allen beats him, right? So he's not going to be getting any elite caliber ranked guy, but him versus Jack Hermanson kind of makes sense because, like, quietly, Abus Magomedov has put a 3-fight win streak together and hasn't lost since 2023. And his losses are Sean Strickland and Kyle Barrio, two of the best in the damn middleweight division. So, like, Abus is still, he's still amongst the higher caliber. It's just Jack Hermanson comeback fight makes sense. Jack Hermanson hasn't fought since the Joe Pyfer win in 2024, and I'm sure he'll want to come back at some point. I think either it's Hermanson or it's the Pyfer Gastelum winner. From Michel Pereira, dude, I want fun fights for him, but if he's not going to show up like that, it's like, what are we even doing with him? Shara Bullet versus him. Like, why even fuck around? Michel Pereira, Shara Bullet. Shara's coming off the loss MVP. Let's not overthink it. Let's just book that fight. Michel Pereira, Shara Bullet, please. I love that matchup. And seeing this, you'd probably favor Shara Bullet in it. Next fight, Giga Chikadze and David Onama. I was very pissed off after this fight. And, you know, obviously I was not crazy about the scorecard, but let's discuss what happened. Giga Chikadze looked tactical in round one, right? Both guys had moments. Onama's hands looked fast, but Chikadze landed a lot of shots. Chikadze had David Onama on real wobbly legs towards the end of the first round, but Onama was able to land the survival first takedown and survive the round after getting stung bad on the feet by Giga Chikadze, whose striking early looked as good as ever. Round two, David Onama found the takedown in the middle of the round and just beat up Chikadze a bit and controlled him from top position and showed him the MMA game. Now, round three is where things get testy because Giga Chikadze beat David Onama at striking in round three. No doubt about it. For the first 3-ish minutes of that round, Giga Chikadze was landing the cleaner shots. He looked faster on the feet. He looked better on the feet. And he did more damage to David Onama and had him a bit uncomfortable in the striking department. But then Onama lands a weird takedown, which if you watch it one time, it looked like a head clash led to the takedown. But I did go back and give it a close rewatch. And actually, the head of Giga Chikadze didn't clash with the head of David Onama. It more so grazed the head, but took a hard impact into Onama's trap, which sent Giga Chikadze backwards. And then Onama was able to get on top. Onama was able to control the position for a bit, but Giga was able to burst back up to his feet. But then Onama got him down again. The issue I have is Onama was just stalling and holding from top position with not doing much damage or any damage, really. Does that warrant a win over the effective striking we saw from Chikadze earlier? It like puts us at like a 50-50 round. But where I get confused with judges' scorecards are when they say that damage is the number one criteria, right, of scoring. Like a fighter that did significant damage does more. Chikadze did more significant damage in the striking. But David Onama landed takedowns and control towards the end of the round. The OG scoring, it's like, okay, I guess I kind of get it. But in this modern era, they say, but they don't follow this. Judges just do whatever they want. They say that damage should be number one. That Giga Chikadze's more effective striking should win him the round because he had more moments of winning a fight, whereas Onama just had control in a grappling-based position, right? It's not like he was near a finish of any kind, right? Giga Chikadze landing punches, there's a chance he could knock Onama out. David Onama just controlling from top position after a takedown and holding a guard is not a near fight ending type of result. So the scorecard for me gets testy because if damage is number one, Giga Chikadze landed bigger shots in round number three. Giga Chikadze did more damage in round three, but he did get controlled a little bit late. He was in a relatively neutral position, you know, bottom guard, but still bottom position, which normally you're not winning from there. Though Giga Chikadze was active from the bottom and landed some shots from there. I just 29-28 unanimous decision kind of blew my mind because I thought it could have went at the very least a split decision. I thought one judge would say, okay, Giga's striking was enough, but no, it ends up going to Onama on a unanimous decision. Yes, I was pissed off. Yes, Giga Chikadze was a savage dog for me. And yes, it didn't come through and he loses a testy decision and it's takedown defense that sells him, which he's supposed to be working his ass off with Marab and, you know, still ends up being the fault. It is what it is, man. I felt like this was a bad scorecard watching it live. rewatching and seeing how the takedown was executed, when you see that it's clean, not with the headbutt, I guess I can see the argument towards giving it to Onama. But like, this is not the style of fighting, that has turned MMA into such a great sport. The smother and the hold and the survive till the end because you're getting outstruck on the feet without doing any damage from top position. That's not what has made MMA this great sport. Then they'll use a comparison. Oh, well, Ian Gary tried to just survive at the end. Yeah, but I scored the round against him. David Onama, right? Still in a fight that was 1-1, won the decision with just kind of a survival takedown and control in round 3. It's just confusing to me because Giga did more damage and he landed the cleaner and bigger shots, but like Onama with the panic wrestling late was able to survive, and then that earns him a win with just stalling. I just don't get it. I think it's a bit of a disgrace that that's how we're scoring fights, because then I think it encourages other fighters to just panic like that and just try and survive. Now, Giga Chikadze most likely is booted from the rankings, and then Onama will enter probably at number 15, but I don't know, man. Giga was number 12, so we'll boot him out of the rankings. I was joking around. I say, yo, feed Onama to Gene Silva, but I don't think they push Gene Silva backwards like that. I feel like you could do David Onama, but Yusuf Zalal and him are training together. Zalal's in his corner. They're not going to fight. Do they jump him up? Do they give him Josh Emmett? They're trying to give Josh Emmett a chance to fight someone that's a big name, and, Onama a chance for a violent KO. It gets murky again. Matchmaking this card afterwards is actually tough for me. I think David Onama with this win is in a really good position. David Onama versus Dan Ige, if Dan Ige is not going to be fighting Patricio Pitbull, doesn't surprise me. I don't think that's a crazy outcome. I also don't think David Onama versus Bryce Mitchell is a wild idea either. Hopefully they don't do Bryce Mitchell versus Giga Chikadze. He's going to get fucking grapple fucked AF, man. That is not a good matchup for him. But Onama probably holds on to a top 15 spot after this week. How long does he keep it? I don't know. I don't favor him when I start moving him up the rankings. Like, I don't think Onama is ready for even a 40-year-old Josh Emmett. I could see him getting knocked out. Yusuf Zalal is training partner and him won't fight, but I'd probably favor Yusuf Zalal. Dan Ige, I think, has a good chance. But him and Dan Ige kind of seems like the fight the UFC is going to end up making, though. I got a feeling. The UFC is going to do him versus Dan Ige, though I wanted to see Dan Ige Pitbull. They might not do that for Pitbull. I don't know. UFC decides at the end of the day. I'm just here to, give my thoughts on it all when it goes down. But I definitely don't want Giga Chikadze Bryce Mitchell because that will go bad for him. I think Giga Chikadze versus Sean Woodson is actually a pretty cool fight, especially with Woodson coming off to that Ige loss. Bro, book that one. Easy. Big bang bosh type shit. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, co-main event. Mingyang Zhang finishes Anthony Smith, rips him with some big elbows on the inside, hurts him, and then finishes him up with ground and pound. And Anthony Smith just lying in a pool of his blood as the fight is stopped by the referee. About how I expected Anthony Smith's final fight to go. This was his retirement bout. And after the fight, the UFC had a badass montage for him. And it was nice to reminisce on when Anthony Smith was primed. And I was like, wow, he was in a lot better shape in his prime. Like, you can see the wear and tear on him and his body now versus when he was beating the likes of Volkan Oezdemir and Gustafsson, which people probably like, what the fuck? Anthony Smith is shit. And he beat those guys. At one point, Anthony Smith was one of the best. It's just he is far past his best days now. That is an absolute fact. And Mingyang Zhang absolutely put it on him and beat the shit out of him here. Mingyang Zhang is now a highly touted up-and-comer in the damn light heavyweight division. He just took out the number 15 ranked guy. Dude, I don't think Mingyang Zhang is bad. Like, I mean, is bad is a fucking understatement. But like I'm saying, I don't think he matches up bad with a lot of these guys. I'm looking at Bogdan Gushkov, and I'm like, you're telling me Mingyang Zhang doesn't have a real chance to chin Bogdan? I like the idea of Zhang versus Bogdan. Both guys on 3-fight win streaks. I mean, Zhang's won more fights in a row. Guskov 3-1 in the UFC. 3-0 in the UFC for Mingyang Zhang gives Guskov a chance to avenge his twin brother and Anthony Smith. So I'm all in for that. And also, like, Johnny Walker's booked Azamat versus Azamat Mirzakev. Boom, that fight's already set. Alonzo Menifield's fighting Umar Sy. Dustin Jacoby, Bruno Lopez. Could be a Bruno Lopez, Dustin Jacoby winner next for Mingyang Zhang as well, if that's a direction they want to go down. But I feel like Mingyang Zhang versus Bogdan Gushkov makes a lot of sense. I really do. There's kind of I don't know. There's a vibe about that fight. There's a vibe about that fight that has me intrigued. I'd like to see what would happen when those two entangle, but I don't know the direction with Ming Yang Zhang. If they're going to really try to give him more of a push, I doubt he's fighting backwards. Damn, Austin Lane's fighting Vitor Petrino. I just saw that now. It's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. But I doubt he fights someone out of the rankings. I think after a co-main event win, retiring Anthony Smith, you give him the likes of a Bogdan Gushkov. Also arguable that you'd give him, somebody like the Jacoby and Bruno Lopez winner. That's a possibility for him. But he's definitely a player, man. Ming Yang Zhang can crack. Hits hard for sure. Elbows nasty for sure. Just beat the number 15 guy. Give him Gushkov, who's number 13. Like, why are we overthinking this? Let's just do that. Make it simple. Make it easy. Ming Yang Zhang, Bogdan Gushkov. For Anthony Smith, ride off into the sunset. Enjoy your retirement. We'll see him on the analyst desk, and we'll see him doing his podcast. I wish nothing but the best for Smith. Listen, he is well past his prime. Okay? Anthony Smith retired late, if you want my honest opinion. If you think about Anthony Smith, right? He hasn't looked great since 2021. When he choked out Ryan Spann, he looked good. He had won 3 fights in a row. He was surging. It seemed like he had some momentum back. And then Magomedov fucks him up, but that's forgivable. Then he looked pretty bad against Johnny Walker. Then he wins a split decision in a Ryan Spann rematch after getting dropped bad in round 1. Then he gets knocked out by Khalil Roundtree, and it's not looking good. And then he fights Vitor Petrino, and he locks him up in the perfect ghillie. Petrino just shooting a crazy double leg, picking him up in the air. And then Dolidze beats him, Reyes knocks him out, and now Ming Yang Zhang knocks him out. But I really think Anthony Smith has been washed since 2021. So he retired like 4 years after. So he had a long career of fights when he was past it, bro. Like, I think really for his past, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's been out of his prime for his past 8 fights. And he still stuck around and did 8 more and was still able to take 2 wins, man. And he retires from the UFC 13-12. And I'm glad he's retiring without a negative UFC record, because that would kind of suck for him. At one point, he had a badass run going, beat the likes of John Jones. Like, there's moments where he was a bad motherfucker. I remember the Anthony Smith UFC return. It's like, no way he's doing anything. And somehow he knocks out Hector Lombard. Then Thiago Santos beats him, but then he turns it up with a fucking one-punch KO of Rashad, a washed Rashad, but still Rashad. Knocks out Shogun Hua, then beats Volkan Ozdemir. And then like a loss to John Jones by decision, but still have to respect him going distance and not quitting after the knee. And then he chokes out Gustafsson. He's had some legendary moments, man. When you look at Anthony Smith 2021 and before, he was a bad motherfucker and a legit ass contender in the UFC. But, unfortunately, the game is ruthless, man. Unfortunately, the game is ruthless. And he goes out getting beaten the shit out of by Ming Yang Zhang. So shout out to Ming Yang Zhang. I'm excited for more for him. Yeah, give him Bogdan Gushkov. Respect for Smith. Good luck in retirement, man. Main event, Ian Machado Garry, Carlos Prates. If you guys are watching and you haven't, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe it up. Let's talk this damn main event. So Ian Machado Garry in the first 3 rounds was at a tactical advantage. He was able to outstrike Carlos Prates. He even had Carlos Prates wobbled on the feet. He looked crisp. He looked clean. He looked fast. He looked precise. And he was moving a lot. He stayed on that bicycle, and Prates was trying to chase him, but was essentially unsuccessful for the vast majority. Now, Prates showed good takedown defense. Machado Garry shot a lot of these outside singles that were easily stuffed by Prates. I think he was doing it as like an attempt to throw the striking flare off of Prates. But still, effective strategy, and even was able to get him down a handful of times during the fight. 4 takedowns overall. Round number 4, Carlos Prates started having success towards the end of the round. Busted Ian Garry's nose up, caught him with some big punches against the cage, and had Garry looking a bit uncomfortable in round 4. And I thought that Carlos Prates stole the round. Garry landed decent shots earlier, but he was starting to wither after trying to wrestle a lot. His body was getting tired, and Prates just kept coming on strong. And round 4 was Prates' round. He hit him clean. He was backing him up. He was making him uncomfortable. After getting fucked up in the first 3, Prates found it in himself to bring the heat to Garry in round 4. Round 5, Ian Garry looks awesome at the start. Garry's looking sharp, but Prates is relentless, and Garry looks a little uncomfortable. You know how you know Garry's uncomfortable? When he's shooting takedowns early in the round, especially when his corner said, wait. Shoots an early takedown, stuffed by Prates. Prates keeps bringing the thunder, cracking Garry again. Shoots him, fails the takedown. Ian Garry ends up in bottom position. Prates landed some decent ground and pound shots. They end up like getting close to the feet, but like Garry looks out of it. He's kind of scrambling on the ground. He's staying on all fours. Prates looking to throw some more shots. Garry kind of turtling up. More ground and pound from Prates. There's moments where the referee was considering jumping in because it looked like Ian Garry was kind of out. He was kind of out of it at the least. Like it seemed like Prates had done some damage to him. Prates fumbles the bag late, though. Let me just tell you that much. Prates then has control against the cage and is peppering Garry with a few shots with the backside body lock position. They get back to striking. Prates doesn't really attack like a madman. Garry circles out and like the bell ends up ringing. And like, you know, Prates, he tried to chase him down a little, but not hard enough. I don't think he had much in the gas tank either. And Garry was still trying to fire shots back. But Prates had Garry very uncomfortable in that last round. And I just wonder if he would have said, fuck grappling, let's get back up to the feet and swung for the fences. I don't know if Ian Machado Garry could have stood up. Ian Machado Garry looked like he was gone, like he was stuck on all fours. And Prates is staying over him, trying to throw shots. I really think he should have said, come on, let's get back to striking. He had enough time where he could have found a big shot and got a knockout, but tried to just, you know, secure like a ground and pound finish or just win the round. I don't really get what the mentality was there. It was a lapse of judgment and it was a fight IQ era, which ends up costing him the fight. Respect to Ian Garry. I scored it 3 rounds to 2. He looked awesome in the first, second, and third round. His striking looked clean. His accuracy was absolutely there. His precision was there. He moved really well. He, you know, was a real hard target for Prates to hit. Prates got caught with a head kick, some clean punches. Didn't fall, but he did get wobbled a bit by Ian Garry. Ian hit him with some hard punches to the head. But like round 4 and 5 were Prates' rounds. He came on strong in round 4, and it seemed like the bell rung early, but I think the timer was off for us at home on the TV. Carlos had Garry's nose bleeding, though, and he had him feeling the fight in round 4. And then in round 5, he had him feeling the fight real bad. And I just wonder if Prates would have said, let's go, get up. Would he have gotten the finish? I don't know. Ian Machado Garry tactically survives till the final bell, ends up winning a decision that he deserved to win. The Fighting Nerds team, to be fair, it's like Bruno Brazil doesn't exist. Kainan Kruczewski doesn't exist. Oh, they're 19-0. Well, 4 of them were 19-0. Now 19-1, Carlos Prates takes the first loss of the 4 horsemen of the Fighting Nerds. And I'm not really shocked by it. I picked Ian Garry to win this fight, and I felt as though, you know, Prates would... Actually, I felt as though he would be more tired in the later stage. I guess in round 5, he was definitely tired, which is why the tactical game plan was off. But still, he seemed to have more oomph than Garry. Garry, I guess, was doing a lot of running in the fight, where Prates was, like, plodding and walking him down. But even though Prates is a cigarette addict, bro, even though he's smoking all day, packs on packs of fucking cigs, he's a chain smoker, the gas tank still looked pretty good. And like, you know, he finished the fight in round 5 and kept the momentum on his side with how he brought the oomph to Ian Garry. So like, you have to, you know, respect Prates for not giving up on himself and having great moments late in the fight. A bit of like a moral victory there. But still, nonetheless, Ian Machado Garry deserved the win without a doubt. He was tactical, precise, and clean in the first 3. After the fight, he said he's flying to Canada to be the backup for the fight between Jack Della and Bilal. I'm not thinking his body's recovered after 5 rounds with Prates to do that in 2 weeks, but crazier things have happened. I don't know for sure if Ian Machado Garry would even be offered the chance to step in as a backup because his body's probably in a subpar condition, and I don't even know if he can make the weight again, but who knows? Who knows? I don't think he's ready for a title shot. I don't think he's ready for Bilal. Seeing him on his back here with Prates late in the fight, getting ground and pounded. I don't think he's ready for Bilal. Against Jack Della, I guess that would be, you know, a slightly more favorable matchup. Della being more of a striker. I could see Garry attempting to do something similar to what he did with Carlos Prates, but I don't know, man. I could see Garry getting caught with big shots by Jack Della. I like the Jack Della fight with Ian Garry a lot, and I hope at some point we see it. Obviously, the Buckley fight is probably in the making somehow, but Buckley's fighting Usman, so if he knocks out Usman, his stock could jump a ton. That's a what if. What if Usman beats him? Ian Machado Garry's still young at 27. He's definitely ready for the highest caliber. Him and Joaquin Buckley seems like a cool fight to make. It's just, I don't know, man. That Colby Covington fight, I think, is escaping us. I don't think they end up facing off, but I will say I'd like to see him fight Colby. Joaquin Buckley's fighting Usman. If Buckley beats Usman, I feel like he's not going to want to fight backwards and take on Garry. He'll be riding a fucking, what, 7-fight winning streak? If he wins that one, he'll be riding a 7-fight winning streak. He's going to make an argument for a title shot. Sean Brady versus Buckley, number one contender fight. But then what about Shavkat, right? Shavkat could potentially be fighting next against Bilal. Such a weird and murky waters at the top of the UFC welterweight division with Shavkat, being out in the wings waiting. But with Ian Gary versus, Prates favoring Gary, there's an argument that it strengthens the stock of Shavkat, who beat Ian Gary. And then Bilal versus Jack Della, whatever happens there happens. And now Islam Makhachev talking about maybe moving up in weight. Islam's going to get priority over Shavkat. We could see a world where Buckley beats Usman, has to fight Machado Garry, and Sean Brady fight Shavkat. That's not even a crazy reality to live in. That's actually a possibility. We might be looking at that as the outcome for the UFC welterweight division, top 10, top 5, whatever the fuck. That's not a wild take. It seems like Ian Gary and Joaquin Buckley are already, setting up for a fight against one another. And I know Buckley's willing to do it. They got unfinished business. Even if he knocks out Usman, you have to assume that Joaquin Buckley is not going to get a title shot unless it's a short notice fill-in or somebody gets injured. Like, is Shavkat going to just be forgotten about, I feel like Shavkat Rakhmonov, Sean Brady, another contender fight. Buckley versus Gary, contender fight. And then potentially the UFC decides on who looks more impressive, like who gets the shot between the winners of those ones. If Shavkat beats Sean Brady and Gary beats a Buckley, obviously you'd go Shavkat. But if Shavkat beats a Brady, but Buckley beats a Gary and finishes him, arguably Buckley could jump ahead. But with Islam Makhachev wanting to fight up potentially, I don't know. I think we're getting Ilya versus Islam, so maybe we don't have to worry about him trying to jump in weight. It depends what happens there. But there could be a logjam at the top of this welterweight division. Jack Della fighting Bilal coming up soon. I'm actually really excited for that fight. Welterweight is fucking jam-packed with talent, man. I love the welterweight division. I'm hype as hell to see. I mean, you'd have to assume, right, Bilal, he's a big favorite because he's expected to take down Jack Della, but crazy shit happens. If Jack Della beats a Bilal Muhammad, holy shit, the division spun on its damn head. I'm sure if Islam then was able to beat its supporter, he'd want to go up and try to get revenge for Bilal. Yeah, UFC welterweight division, stacked up with talent. I'm going to say Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley. Regardless of this Usman fight in front of him, I think that Buckley, let's say he wins against Usman, then still the Machado Garry fight is kind of there as like a number one contender matchup. And I could see a lot of fanfare on that one too. Now, for Carlos Prates, it's a disappointing loss. It's not a stock killer, but it definitely does hurt his stock pretty substantially. I mean, you could see him fighting the winner of Kevin Holland and Vicente Luque. Potentially a Kevin Holland fight versus Carlos Prates would absolutely do numbers. You could see him maybe even fighting against somebody like Wonder Boy. I don't know if Wonder Boy's going to want to come back. Might not be a good look for Wonder Boy. Could even see Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. That's an option. Jeff Neal rebooked against Carlos Prates, but it could be Jeff Neal Leon. You see what I'm saying? Like, the matchmaking at this upper echelon of the UFC welterweight division, it just gets headachy. It stresses me out. The UFC matchmaker's got a hard job to do because Prates losing to Gary in close fashion, but finishing the fight strong kind of demands respect. I feel like he's want to, get back in there relatively soon. Depends when Jeff Neal's ready. If Jeff Neal's ready to go, I'm down for Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates rebooking. But I could see Leon Edwards somehow getting his name in the Carlos Prates mix. And a Leon Edwards-Carlos Prates fight is another fight night main event that the UFC can end up putting together. So there are, countless options. There's countless options, man. The division's too stacked. Division's too stacked. You got Michael Morales on the come up right now. Welterweight is in a great spot. You know what? Having too many potential options for fights to make is definitely a lot better than having too few. Ian Gary gets the win over Carlos Prates. The Buckley fight seems to be what's going to end up being next. And, let's see how far Ian Gary can take it. He's still young at 27, 16-1. Late in the fight, found some trouble. I could see Buckley give him trouble late in the fight, man. Carlos Prates, terrifying striker, but not quick enough early, man. And Gary's hand speed and really his footwork and all his speed overall was the ultimate difference maker. So shout out getting it done for Ian Gary. And I did perfectly pick it because I called him by decision. Let's look at the record on the card. So we won with Machado Garry in the main event, won with Zhang in the co-main event, lost with Giga Chikadze to Onama in the featured fight. Fight before that, won with the underdog Magomedov against Michel Pereira, won with Randy Brown over Nicolas Dalby, won with Aliskerov over André Muniz, won with Matt Schnell over Jimmy Flick, won with Evan Elder over Gage Young, lost with Castañeda pick flip from Gutierrez. Stupid call. Pick flips have been bad luck to me. Damon Blackshear, Alatengheili win. Confident calls. Confident picks also swept the board. Malcolm Wellmaker knockout went over Saaiman. Money pick there. This perfect second round Mystic Mac call with Amorim and Viana hits. Timmy Cuamba lost there, had Romero. We took the L, and then won with Jaws and Edwards. Confident pick against Chandler. So 11-3 on the record, but if not for the pick flip, it's 12-2. And if we would have had a little blessed luck with this damn fight between Giga and Onama, shit, it could be a 13-1 night, man. We could have got damn close to sweeping the card. Maybe it's better that we didn't go 13-1. Might have been more pissed. Like, why would I pick Romero? Why would I do it? He's 8-4. It is what it is, guys. I'm not going to get fucking down on my luck after having some badass confident picks and a good underdog call, even if the savage dog Chikadze ain't so savage at the end of it all, unfortunately. Now, I do want to review the parlays and just bitch about how upset I am. Savage D-Gen and some other savage D-Gen calls that were in the plus 1,000 range end up failing because Giga loses. But if damage trumps all, he wins. So I'm like, I felt like I won. In the moment, I'm like, damn, I really felt like I won. I thought damage trumped all, but I guess not. The damage is worth the shit now. It's just lay, pray, and control, and you're going to win decisions. And I'm not going to hit a plus 2,000. Maybe too many bets on Gigas if they fucking go against them. Of course, the confident, safer plays, the clean sweep of the confident picks at plus 285 hits. Aliskerov and Abus was a badass OV play hits. Edwards and Brown is a good alternate hit. The safe-ish 3 play, minus 127 hit, and then very safe, minus 214. Blackshear, Aliskerov comes through. So if you did tail the more confident parlays and you were throwing substantial revenue at some of them, you were hitting nicely. If you went for the Savage D-Gen, you're going to feel robbed because of the Giga fight. But I cannot control judges. I can only control what I think is going to be the result. We have to hope for the best when the scorecards are wrong, or just, try our best to get finishes, man. Try our best to pick finishers. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's recap show. I enjoyed doing it. Smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. It's 3:20 in the morning, guys. I'm tired, man. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the card. I'm going to say this was like a badass fight night. 9.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10 fight night. It really doesn't get much better. It was awesome fights throughout. I loved every moment of this fight night. This was what UFC fight nights are all about, man. The badass Anthony Smith montage send-off. It was a feel-good story. Shit on Smith all you want. That was feel-good, man. To get the flashback, you could feel tears coming to your eyes, man. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say, but definitely let me know what you thought of the card. I enjoyed it per usual. We'll be back with the full card predictions, I guess now later today, April 27th. Much love to the people watching. I love each and every one of you savages. I will see you all in the next one. I'm about to post this video and I'm about to go to sleep, guys. All right, so good night. Peace out. Much love. Bye-bye.